I've posted my perspective on the November 2024 election and how it came to be that we find ourselves in these horrific circumstances. I've posted it on Substack, and you'll see the address of my Substack at the end of this video. It's entitled, "We Are Not Supposed to Be Here." It's sweeping in its scope. It goes back decades. It's only a few thousand words. I've organized it into 9 posts to make it more manageable as a read. And I encourage you to dip into it and to share it. Part 1 is World War III has been raging for years. Part 2 is Never Forget, Never Forgive. Part 3 is 4 doses of poison. Part 4 is 3 malignant tumors weighing down on the vital organs of governance. Part 5 is the 5-fingered death grip. Part 6 is 2 true answers. Part 7 is the red angel. Part 8 is 3 vital instructions. And Part 9 is the singularity. And in particular, the 4 doses of poison, the 3 malignant tumors, the 5-fingered death grip, and the 2 true answers address the question of how did we end up in this place? How did we end up where we are? And then the Red Angel, 3 vital instructions, and the singularity speak to where we go from here. You will typically read, assuming the source has distanced itself from the illusion of a Trump, quote, landslide, unquote. You'll typically read the results as Trump 49.97%, Harris 48.36%, 49% to 48% of the vote. That was the election results. That's how you'll typically see it presented. For instance, that's how, like, say, NPR or CNN would probably display it to you on the screen. NPR in particular, on a story posted 12/3/24, for example. I suggest to you that such results should be reported as percentages of those who voted and whose votes were counted. So in other words, of those registered voters who voted or whose votes were counted, Trump got 49%, Harris got 48%. That would be more accurate, more informative. But in reality, just pulling back even further, in reality, this is what would be more representative of the total actual results would be this. Trump, 31.78%. Harris, 30.84%. Third-party candidates, 1.6%. And did not vote, 36.33%. That's right. Only 31% of the voters in America chose Trump. And so this change in perspective, this change of framing, is not at all subtle. It's of great importance that you know, and tell those you know, that Trump, Putin, Musk, MAGA's share of the actual body politic is small, like Trump's hands. Now, of course, Franco's share of the vote was similar, and he ruled for 36 years? What can be said of the 36.33% of voters who did not, what can be said of the 36.33% of voters who did not vote? 2 points need to be made about them. 1, yes, we are occupying the same space as an idiocracy, and it is a serious problem. And 2, of those 36.33%, how many voted, how many actually did vote, or tried to vote, or were under the impression that they did vote? How many of them got to the polling place and found out their name had been purged from the voter rolls by state officials? How many, for instance, in Texas, how many got to the polling place and for whatever reason, children, 2 jobs, health, weather conditions, couldn't wait for hours to vote? How many voters had their ballots contested for some reason or another, and whose votes were therefore not counted? Oh, and just out of curiosity, how many lived in districts which had polling places or ballot counting centers that received Russian bomb threats on election day? That would be over 60 locations, specifically in battleground states, specifically in Democratic strongholds in battleground states. Now, what impact did that have on the number of people who voted? You would think in a healthy society, by now the 4th state would have been able to offer you an answer to that question. In earlier times, the New York Times or the Washington Post would be able to provide answers to that question for you by now. Not only does Trump, Putin, Musk, MAGA not have a mandate, not only do they not have a mandate, they cannot claim to have the support of anything even close to half the registered voters in the United States. 90 million Americans didn't or couldn't vote. Embrace this reality. Do not cede your personal or collective power. I hope you find we're not supposed to be here in all its 9 parts. I hope you find it useful, and I hope if you do, you share it with others. Blessings to all who are true of heart.